Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. What if extinction wasn't the end? In the Galapagos Islands, the very cradle of evolution, scientists are attempting to turn back the clock, to resurrect a species lost for over 150 years. This isn't science fiction. This is the Lazarus Project, an extraordinary true story of genetic ghosts and a bold attempt to revive a lost world. Before humans arrived, the Galapagos was a tortoise empire. It's estimated that over 250,000 of these gentle giants roamed the islands, shaping the very landscapes they inhabited. Their reign, however, was fragile. Beginning in the 1600s, pirates and buccaneers discovered that the tortoises were a perfect living larder. These remarkable creatures could survive for over a year without food or water, stacked in the dark holds of ships, providing a steady source of fresh meat on long voyages. The onslaught intensified in the 18th and 19th centuries with commercial whalers. Ship logbooks tell a grim story. In 1 month, in 1831, a single whaling crew took 585 tortoises from Hispaniola Island alone. They were harvested for their oil too, which was used to light the lamps of Quito, hundreds of miles away. The pressure mounted further with the California gold rush, when tortoises became a luxury food item in San Francisco. But direct hunting wasn't the only threat. The settlers and mariners brought invasive species with them: goats, pigs, and most devastatingly, black rats. Goats decimated the native plants the tortoises ate. On Pinta Island, a few goats released in 1959 exploded into a population of 40,000 by the 1970s. Completely destroying the habitat. Meanwhile, rats preyed relentlessly on tortoise eggs and hatchlings. The combined pressures were overwhelming. By the 1970s, the tortoise population had plummeted to just 15,000, a tiny fraction of their original numbers. 4 of the 15 distinct tortoise species were declared extinct. The age of the tortoise was seemingly over. The key to rewriting this story of extinction lies on a remote and rugged shield volcano on Isabella Island called Wolf Volcano. For a long time, scientists were puzzled by the tortoises there. Some had an unusual saddleback shell shape, a feature characteristic of tortoises from other islands, like Floriana and Pinta, where the native species were thought to be entirely extinct. The Floriana tortoise had been wiped out by the 1850s. The Pinta Island tortoise went extinct in 2012, with the death of its last known survivor, the world-famous Lonesome George. The leading theory was a happy accident of history. Whalers, having loaded their ships with tortoises from various islands, might have later discarded them near Isabella to make room for more valuable cargo. These castaway tortoises would have swum to Wolf Volcano and interbred with the locals, creating a unique hybrid community. For decades, this was just a compelling hypothesis. The proof arrived with modern genetic sequencing. An international team of scientists began by building a genetic library, extracting DNA from century-old museum specimens of the extinct Floriana and Pinta tortoises. This gave them the genetic footprint of the lost species. Then, they turned their attention to the living. In a series of dangerous expeditions to the treacherous slopes of Wolf Volcano, they tranquilized, measured, and took blood samples from hundreds of tortoises. The blood samples were then compared against the genetic blueprints of the extinct species. The results were electrifying. In 2008, the analysis revealed that over 100 of the tortoises on Wolf Volcano were hybrids, carrying the genetic legacy of the long-lost Floriana tortoise within their DNA. A later expedition physically airlifted 32 of these genetically valuable individuals to a special breeding center. Even more astonishing was the discovery related to the Pinta tortoise. After Lonesome George's death, all hope seemed lost. Yet, the genetic survey identified 17 individuals with partial Pinta Island ancestry. Then, in 2020, the team found a young female with a significant percentage of Pinta genes. This suggested she was a direct descendant of a purebred Pinta tortoise that might still be alive, roaming the vast, unexplored volcano. The ghost of Lonesome George, it turned out, was not so lonely after all. With these living ghost genes identified, the stage was set for the Lazarus Project, a plan to breed an extinct species back into existence. This isn't the high-tech cloning of Jurassic Park. The chosen method is a more patient, yet scientifically rigorous form of selective breeding. As Dr. Edelgisa Cacone of Yale University explained, theoretically, we can rescue a species that has gone extinct. At the Fausto Llerena Tortoise Center on Santa Cruz Island, scientists are acting as genetic matchmakers. Using sophisticated tools, they identify which hybrid tortoises have the highest percentage of pure Floriana DNA. Then they create a genetic stud book, pairing males and females most likely to produce offspring with an even greater concentration of the target genes. Even the incubation of the eggs is a precise science. The sex of Galapagos tortoise hatchlings is determined by temperature. Temperatures around 28 degrees Celsius tend to produce more males, while temperatures around 29.5 degrees Celsius produce more females. To accelerate population growth, the team aims to produce more females. The project is a long-term commitment. It could take a century or more to produce tortoises that are 95% genetically identical to the original Floriana species. While a perfect replica may be impossible, the goal is to create ecologically functional proxies capable of reclaiming their ancestral role. As of early 2025, the program has been a remarkable success, with about 400 baby tortoises with high percentages of Floriana DNA hatched in captivity. These youngsters represent the first chapter in the resurrection of their species. But bringing back the Floriana tortoise isn't just about reviving a single animal. It's about resurrecting an entire ecosystem. Giant tortoises are ecosystem engineers, meaning their actions profoundly shape their environment. Their disappearance left a gaping hole in the ecological fabric of Floriana Island. Reviving the tortoise is therefore the centerpiece of a much larger, even more ambitious endeavor, the Floriana Ecological Restoration Project. This project aims to rewild the entire island and reintroduce 13 locally extinct species. But first, they had to remove the invaders. In late 2023, after a decade of planning, a massive campaign was launched to eliminate invasive black rats and feral cats from the 17,000-hectare island. It was one of the largest and most complex invasive species removal projects ever attempted. With the predators gone, the island is now safe for the return of its original architects. The reintroduction of the new tortoises will be transformative. As the dominant herbivores, they will disperse seeds in their dung, acting as master gardeners for plants like the prickly pear cactus. Through their grazing and trampling, they will maintain the open, savanna-like habitats that many other species rely on. On other islands where tortoises have been successfully repatriated, their return cleared overgrown areas, helping critically endangered birds that needed bare ground for nesting. Restoring the tortoise means restoring a fundamental ecological process. Of course, the prospect of de-extinction opens a Pandora's box of ethical questions. Some argue that creating a 95% genetic match isn't true resurrection, but the creation of a proxy species. Others question the immense cost, arguing the money could be better spent protecting species that are currently on the brink of extinction, not those already gone. It's an argument of triage. Should we focus on the dying or the dead? Then there's the philosophical question of playing God. Should humanity intervene in evolution to this degree? For many involved in the Galapagos Project, the answer is a clear yes. They argue that since human actions caused these extinctions, we have a moral obligation to try and undo the damage. This isn't about hubris. It's about taking responsibility. The work in the Galapagos is a beacon of hope. It demonstrates that with dedication and scientific innovation, even the finality of extinction can sometimes be challenged. The first generation of selectively bred tortoises is now being released onto a predator-free Floriana, beginning the slow, deliberate work of re-engineering their ancestral home. The story isn't over. The discovery of a young female with Pinta Island ancestry has ignited hope that lonesome Georgia species might also one day be revived. In the very islands that taught us how life evolves, we are now learning how it can be revived. It is a profound and humbling endeavor, a testament to the resilience of nature and the power of science to mend a world we helped break.